Hey everyone, Amy here with yet another aha moment. I was fortunate enough to go to Portugal recently and meet a lot of wonderful sisters and had an aha moment when I was there that I wanted to share with all of you. Now, this one is kind of different. Well, I guess they're all kind of different, but it was interesting to see so many. We had 10 different nationalities represented at this meetup. And not only do you have different cultures, but you also have a variety of different personalities. And even though we were all from such different backgrounds, we were all united in love and acceptance. And because of that, we all got along. Now, I tell you this because I found that as somebody that was raised in America, that I and a lot of the people that I know here have a tendency to quickly jump to the conclusion that people are judging us or that people are talking about us and that we are really quick to be offended. And it was apparent by this weekend because there were things that were happening that I was seeing that I knew that if it happened here in the States, that individuals would walk away pissed off and offended and hurt and angry. And they weren't. At the meetup, they weren't angry. They weren't pissed off. They weren't offended. And one such thing was, I noticed it was a tone of voice that had I been the recipient of or the producer of, that I would have felt like I had offended or was offended by, and these women were not. It was amazing and enlightening and uplifting. And you women who are watching, who are there, you know who you are, that really inspired me. And it really made me see that we can be different and we can be outspoken and we can sometimes be pretty blunt, and that the recipient of that doesn't need to take that personally because the intent was not personal in nature. And I know I'm talking really vague because I don't want to talk about the individual particulars, but just know that for us in the States or for us in other countries that might take things kind of personally, we really shouldn't, because the people that are delivering the message aren't intending it to be personal. And one thing that I do want to share is it was like one of the last nights, and I was recalling something. It really hit my funny bone, and I started laughing with another person. The two of us were laughing. We were down on a lower level, and the rest of the sisters were upstairs, like 2 floors up in their rooms. And I guess we were just a little bit loud with our laughter. And the next thing we know, the other 3 sisters were down there, not because they thought we were talking about them, but because they wanted in on what was so funny. I know, not only have I felt like that, but I also know others that had it transpired somewhere else, they might have felt like we were laughing at them. How many times, I'm also just as guilty, have you been privy to a conversation or 2 people laughing off in a distance, and you're like, they're laughing at me? And you know what? We weren't laughing at them. We weren't laughing at anyone. We were just laughing. And I also think, as you can tell, I get my nails done. And the individual that does my nails speaks a foreign language. She speaks Vietnamese. Now, she also speaks English. And when she communicates with other people in the shop, she speaks Vietnamese. And for a very long time, especially when I was younger, when I would go to these shops and they would speak the other language in front of me, what'd you think? I thought, they're talking about me. They're talking about, oh, she always messes up her nails, or, oh, she's so particular about the way she wants. I thought they were judging and talking about me. And you know what? Ladies, most of the time, they probably weren't. Most of the time, they were probably talking about the fact that they were running out of product, or, I'm not going to be home for dinner, or whatever the case may be. But I always felt like it was talk about me. And so that just goes to show that I have more work to do. And if you're in the same camp as me, maybe you have a little more work to do too. Because we are good, and people aren't always judging or talking about us. There may be some times when they are. Come on, we know there's sometimes when they are. But I think that it's far and fewer between than what we realize. I did get an opportunity at this Portugal meetup to ask. There were so many different languages being spoken, and I am in total awe and inspired by people who speak multiple languages. And you'd walk into the kitchen and they would start in one language. Let's say they'd start in English and they'd get halfway through a sentence and they'd switch to German or French or some other language, Portuguese. And I finally asked them, I said, you know what? I said, what makes you decide what language you're going to speak when you open your mouth? And they were honest. They said, sometimes I speak in English, but I get to a word, or French or whatever language, I get to a word and I don't know what that word is in that language. So I'll switch gears and I'll say it in another language where I know what the word is. And sometimes when I'm really tired, they would say, I will fall back on the language that I know best, or the language that I'm, was raised on, which makes total and complete sense. It's not that you walk in a room, they're speaking English, and you walk in a room and they change languages because they're talking about you. They probably didn't even see you walking in a room. They just couldn't think of the word in the language they were using, which may or may not have been English, could have been German, and they switched to Spanish or something. And so it was quite an aha moment. And I wanted to share that with you because there are many, I cannot, please tell me I'm not alone in thinking that, when people are talking in another language, they're talking about me. Because I'm here to tell you, talking to, how many were there? There were a total of 14 of us. And let's see, 12 of us spoke multiple languages. They assured me that what they were talking about was what they were cooking, or spices that they would typically use in that dish. It had nothing to do with me. And how, that's a little self-centered too, now that I think about it, to think that they're always talking about me. They could be talking about 101 other things, goodness knows. So next time you hear people laughing, next time you hear people speaking in a different language around you, next time you hear people whispering, don't always jump to the first conclusion that it's about you. Because more than likely, it's not. So I hope my aha moment has helped somebody out there. Let me know. Let me know if you've ever been in a situation like what I described and felt like it was, something they were saying about you or judging you. I'd love to hear from you. Hope you're having a great day. See ya.